you have to cross. So this is
Mm-hmm.
thanks to you people actually for come up with such an innovative idea. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Arnab.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get started then.
Yeah.
So, Arnab, my first question is, could you briefly introduce yourself? You could mention which department you're from, what you work on your PhD, what kind of a research scholar are you? Let's say TA, TAP, or FA, and what are you currently doing right now?
Yeah. So I am Arnab. So currently I'm in Bangalore. I work in the
Mhm.
Biocon Bristol's Squibb Research Center as a research investigator. Mainly
Mhm.
my work is as a team leader. So I have to manage a team and also I have to work on the bench also. On top of that, I graduated from IIT Bombay from Department of Chemistry in for the graduate.
Okay. So could you describe your APS experiences? So I hope you had 5 APS. You should have given 5 APS. So could you just share your like experience about how you handled APS in a brief manner for each of the sessions?
Yeah, surely. So the first time when I joined to IIT Bombay, so the first time I heard about the APS, the Annual Progress Seminar. Uh,
Mhm.
uh, because you don't know about the APS or Annual Progress Seminar, so first time when you were going inside, you first come up in this term, you first understand what is okay, what will happen. From the seniors or from the your professor, PI or the department, you will come to know yes, whatever the work you will do in the next 1 year, you have to present it in front of the two internal examiners who will evaluate your work that how you have done like that. So that was
Mhm.
my first experience. But over the time, when it grown, when I went inside this APS system, what I understood it is much more than this kind of ideas. If I
Mhm.
elaborately tell about the APS, Annual Progress
Mhm.
Seminar, it gives a lot of opportunity actually to all people to grow up.
Mhm.
Grow up in the sense,
Mhm.
uh, first time when you were going inside for the APS, when you were going at the first year, probably there are many people I know, including me also, who used to have
Mhm.
the language issue, English,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
an APS probably it cannot be short because of 1 year time duration. You are giving some work. Probably you will present for a half an hour. So that means for a half
Mhm.
an hour. So that means minimum of a 20 minutes. You are continuously giving some scientific lecture to the audience.
Mhm.
So that is actually that language is needs some confidence. So
Mhm.
that confidence
Mhm.
actually after 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, that grows up. That confidence grows up inside you.
Mhm.
That is the first thing.
Mhm.
Second thing, what I always feel that the APS will give you a better opportunity to for make you better for the final thesis when you are going for the
Mhm.
defense because you already know you
Mhm.
don't have that actually fear inside you. So all these
Mhm.
things have already passed away. So like this it works. And for me, every APS was important because I
Mhm.
never thought about like APS for that I have to work. I just worked. Then whatever it came out, that outcome I presented. And for
Mhm.
the outcome I presented, with that, whatever the APS members told, whatever they suggested, with that I came out
Mhm.
actually tried to become a better person.
So, which APS session do you find like would you say was the most important part of your entire PhD program, or was there any APS session which was a more of like a turning point for you for entire throughout your
Okay,
PhD program?
okay. That's a very tricky question. As I actually mentioned, I never thought about actually that I have to present for the APS. For that, I have to do the research. My entire
Mhm.
focus was to do the research. Then what about the outcome used to
Mhm.
go to show it? I never thought actually
Mhm.
that because the APS is coming, so that I have to work. It's not like that actually.
Mhm.
I worked, I
Mhm.
went, I showed, and from there, what I got the suggestions, I came out with that. That's all. So
Mhm.
every session was important for me. Every because uh, if I remember correctly, at the very first year, when I gave my APS, that time I got a very good views from the reviewers, internal examiners. But there was some questions which I was not able to actually answer properly, or probably I didn't know actually the in depth. So I read those things in that time. And next time I went with the better preparation. Like that, actually, what I never thought about that for the APS, I have to actually work. I always love to do research. I always love to do the things. So that mentality only I went. For me, APS, uh, I didn't thought about actually like for the APS only I have to work.
My next question is, what were your key takeaways from the APS sessions, or what was the main learnings you had in the APS sessions?
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good question. What actually that APS will give you? The first thing is, as I will tell you the confidence. APS will give you the APS members whenever they will ask the question, they will should not take it as a criticism. Okay, there is a difference between criticism and limitations. I always think in that way, criticism and limitations. So if you are thinking as a critic, so you cannot make yourself as a better person. So APS always, I thought that whatever they are telling, that's my limitation. I have to go back, I have to read, and in the next APS, before starting my APS, exact APS, I have to actually tell them that, sir, I checked actually these questions you have asked in previous year, and I have came up with the idea, a solution. Is it okay or not? So it's make you a better person, a better researcher. And number two is that your speaking skill increases a lot, which is very much needed because you going somewhere, you go for a postdoc, you give for an interview, you go for a company, give an interview, anything, your communication skills always matters. So always the communication skills increases. Number three, the most valuable thing, what I think is that your subject oriented different type of perspective or views from the internal examiners, because whenever you're working for a longer amount of time in a particular area, in fact your proper PI and your colleagues including you also sometimes does not used to think in a different direction. It happens many of the times we do not used to think in a different directions. So when the internal examiner sits, they used to, because everybody have a different perspective to see the things. So based on that, they used to think in a different perspective. They will give you a different kind of ideas. That idea, if you implement it, probably it will definitely increase the value of your research. So that thing always come out from the APS.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so, according to you, I mean, how do the RPC members evaluate your work, or on what criteria or on what basis does your work get evaluated in an APS session? According to your experience, I'm saying it doesn't need to be like this is what, but since you had given 5 APSs, I mean, what do you feel are the criteria on which the RPC members and your supervisors are evaluating you, the work which you present?
Yeah, yeah. Good question. Good question about how they are evaluating. So what I understood is that while you are working the things, explain it properly, uh, they don't have a problem. But RPC members always really want to see the amount of efforts you are putting for your research. Let's say for a particular year, you have worked a lot, you got failure, it happens. But how much effort you have put inside it, that they used to evaluate, that how much effort you have, it's now people can ask that the RTC member will judge how much effort I put. The judgment is that whenever the outcome came from the failures, so what all the things I have learned from that failures, how I am explaining the failures for to things what I have done. So that means in-depth study I have did actually for this entire year. During before my APS, I have done I have worked it well, no problem. But I have done a in-depth analysis of the things what I have done. So for that only they used to the RPC members used to see there are there are different thinkers, or probably some people will say, if you have a publication, you don't have any problem. Yes, that's true.
Mhm.
Because if you have a publication, if you have a publication before the APS, what happens? The RPC member,
Mhm.
whoever are sitting, they cannot ask you any questions beyond something. Because they will
Mhm.
ask also. It will sometimes actually give them the vibes that invaluable, because you have already published your research. You
Mhm.
have already published your research. But if you have not published your research, that time that particular RPC member becomes very crucial, because their
Mhm.
idea will give you a lot of actually additions onto your research. So
Mhm.
in that way, I think RPC members have their own parameters, different
Mhm.
departments, different parameters, and all these things they have. But in a single term, if I tell, they wants really the efforts. You have to be
Mhm.
put, and nothing else. I mean to say only the efforts.
Mhm.
Efforts, to be honest, you have
Okay.
to analyze it. You have to be honest with
Mhm.
yourself. That's all.
Mhm. Mm. My next question is, could you give us some strategy about how to write our APS report and how to prepare the slides for APS?
Okay, that's a good question. Now, as I mentioned that whenever you are starting to read the publications or the research works,
Mhm.
so first time you got the vibes actually, how a research of people used to write, how a paper used to be
Mhm.
read. So based on
Mhm.
that, first when you are reading, you will get the things out, the gist from inside. So
Mhm.
I wrote the APS each year in like that. I used to read a lot. I still read.
Mhm.
Still, whenever you read a lot, so you will have the idea uh, to take out the gist of your work. There are different kind of people. There are different kind of formats are there. Okay, for writing
Mhm.
the APS, and APS, I will not say as an APS. If your work is almost ready, start
Mhm.
write your APS in such a format so that you will just tune a little bit, modify a little, and send it for the paper.
Mhm.
So with that seriousness, you have to write it. It used to, I know that it used to take time. There are some instances happen. People think that it is a burden.
Mhm.
It's a burden. Let's copy it and paste it from somewhere, from some or 4 or 5 papers, and let's just keep throw it out. So um,
Mhm.
it's not like that. If you put the effort actually to write that one, you can take the direct thing from there, can
Mhm.
publish a paper. So I think that mentality has to come here, to everyone. Because
Mhm.
what I felt actually over the years when I used to read papers and some thesis also from the outer university, like foreign universities, you will see that whatever there are some theses are there where people have directly taken the thesis and actually published the paper. So
Mhm.
the thesis writing is sorry, APS writing is something, is that APS, if you write properly, if you write 100% properly, so that APS, if you combine and combine, at the last it will give you a lot of value for your pre-synopsis, for your
Mhm.
synopsis, and for your thesis, or for your publications.
Mhm.
So it will help you out.
Mhm.
So you have to write it properly.
Mhm.
Properly means understand your work, then see that how you can
Mhm.
relate with some of the research is going on in the entire world. Read those papers. From those papers, whatever the understanding you are getting, like write in that kind of fashion or format, so that the introduction part will be good, because it's in a paper. The main important part is the writing the introduction part. Result and discussion
Mhm.
is easier because you are in a flow. But writing an introduction is a lot of importance, and you have, based on the introduction part only, there are sometimes happens actually, you can sell your paper. So if
Mhm.
writing in that fashion, so it will give you the idea, or
Mhm.
I can say it will give you the base to publish the paper. And always think about, you have to publish a paper. Always think about that
Mhm.
your research has to come out to more number of audiences. So in that way, if you think, so you will write your APS report in such a manner that your work is visible to all the audience you have satisfied, and you publish it also, and it will give you the combined effect in your thesis, synopsis, pre-synopsis, and synopsis also. And coming to the second point about the presentation, this is one of the point that this presentation skill highly increases actually during the IPS. The skill of presentation means how whatever you have worked, you have written, okay, but what you are going to present is completely different. It will be completely different because you cannot copy. Let's say you have given some 10 things here, you cannot copy and paste it directly here. So, presentation is something which will be a skill that how you visualizing the things, how you are actually making the audience to understand your things. A write-up part is lot of elaborate, but in presentation you elaborate the things. You are in a gist manner, you have to actually tell everything to the audience. So in that case, you have to be very precise. And for me, it always takes time for the presentation. But still now, it used to take time for the presentation. Presentation, it used to take time. Because first of all, you have to visualize the things. How you will actually deliver your things to the audience. You have first, what I used to do, I can tell you till now, I first used to think how I will actually present my work to the audience. First of all, I have to come from a particular area so that that will connect my introduction with my works. So that particular things used to take a lot of times. First of all. So that for that you need a very good amount of time. Think about in that way first. Number two is that presentation, the one of the most important things is the how you are actually putting your animations and how animations you are has to get a balance and amount of colors also whatever you are using. I encourage also to use colors, different colors. It gives a good vibes actually while you are presenting it, and animations as well because once putting the animations showing to the slides, it used to you will feel a lot better when you will put the animations. So these things, if you combine it, the presentation will come much better. That I can say. But never thought if you have written APS report, that doesn't mean that you are making a very good presentation. Presentation is a completely different skill. And that skill set will actually, over the time, it used to come, it used to generate, and it used to grow up. How visualizing the things. Visualization is very important. How you are visualizing the things. This I always thought about that APS and presentation, report and presentation.
Great. So what about other negative results? So like when you do, like let's say you have a lot of negative results from your efforts. So do you include it in your APS report or your slides about your negative results?
Again, very good questions, and I will tell you that's some just sometimes for as I mentioned actually, you have there are some failures will be there. There are a lot of failures. There can be tremendous amount of failures will be there, but failures doesn't mean that you are completely out. You have to tell whatever let's say for the entire year you have a failure reaction you were showing to the you and you don't you thought that okay, let's say in the theoretical situation, okay, I will not present this thing, so then what will present? You don't have any work. The RPC member will ask you don't have any work for the entire year what you have done. Theoretically, if you think in that way, then already you are actually taking out this possibility that you cannot show the negative result. You have to show the negative results. But negative results always doesn't mean this is a very tricky term. Negative results. I will not say negative results. I will always think about to term it as unsuccessful reactions, probably unsuccessful attempts, probably. And those unsuccessful attempts. So what we have done. Evening that particular attempts, whatever is the outcome, that is more majorly important than your successful attempts. Because success, when you will show to the people, they will only come to know that you, okay, you are already succeeded about these things. Based on that, some questions will come and it will be over. But if you show the unsuccessful things, it will value a lot, because what is a PhD, you are understanding the things more and more deeply and deeply. So unsuccessful things, it gives you a much better idea and learning rather than the successful. So research is not about, I always think, 99% failure and 1% of the success. So that from the attempts, you will, whatever you will come to know, from that only you will go for the success. And negative results, I will not say unsuccessful attempts. Definitely you have to include in your APS. In fact, in your thesis, you should actually put it inside your thesis, because where you will show in the publications, there is no way actually you can show the unsuccessful items. There are very few scopes, because publications gives you most of the time limited amount of areas, limited columns, limited, so that's all of the things you cannot show. Why you will show whatever the atoms, so that your next generation will come up, will see your thesis. Okay, this person, or APS report. Okay, this person have written this particular thing as a negative, unsuccessful attempt. So I should not do these things in a similar way. I have to think something different. So you have to include that, and you have to understand that. Inclusion of the unsuccessful attempts does not mean that you have done everything. Unsuccessful attempts, how you analyzed it, that is very important. That has to come actually in your APS report. So the probable answer, or probable things. So that's
PhD Excellence Award, where you have been awarded PhD Excellence Award. So, what was this role?
Okay. So this question, I would say, I never really thought about that I will get this PhD Excellent Awards, and but I never thought about it, and I hardly used to know that there is a PhD Excellent in Research Award there IIT Bombay used to give.
Oh, okay.
First time I came to know when I got graduated actually in 2021. That's what happened.
Oh.
I hardly used to know. Seriously, frankly speaking, I hardly used to know. The term I know actually, some of my friends used to talk about, but I hardly actually thought about it. Uh, Now, if you tell me that how I actually achieved my thesis and research, and what helped the APS helped, in that way I can say yes, it helped a lot. That's what I was talking about, that it helped a lot, because different perspective, different ideas, different questions, different dimensions will give you your research a lot of possibility to grow. So in that way, slowly, APS, your questions, your APS report, your presentations, everything when in day after day, year after year, when you are growing and growing, at the fifth year, you will see, you read your first year APS report and your fifth year APS report, you can clearly see the differences between them. I can sense it. I can clearly see it. So sometimes I myself used to feel that what are those things actually I have written in the first year or second year, because probably it was not giving me that feeling. But in the fifth year, whatever I am writing, I'm a bit confident. I am writing or something that it's uh, that is giving a good vibes, a good. Okay, I have generated a good skill sets. So that way, I always thought about it. And I really never thought about the PhD in Excellent in Research Award that I will get for whatever the, because see, there was, I told you, I mentioned you, there was a transition in my life also, that some of the things were not working, the research was not working for me. Uh, so I never thought about it actually. I always think about that I have to do the research. I love the research. I want to be in this area. So that's all. That's how it worked for me. Uh, my professor asked me that can you please give your CV or something. I gave it.
Okay. Could you give us some tips for our PhD program and basically for survival in science research stream
Yeah,
or in
yeah,
research?
yeah, sure. Surely, the first thing is that start at the very first. don't think that okay, the first year work or let's actually get the semester over or the this coursework's over, then only we will start actually. Let's start actually a little bit late. What is the problem? Came to IIT Bombay, very good environment, chill. Sometimes go get out. Yeah, of course, I have done in my entire 5 or 6 years in the IIT Bombay. You have to do it. Otherwise, you can't survive actually for the so long actually of your life. But the thing is that out of that, you have to be ready actually for your research from the very first day. Number two is that what I used to do maintain always, it's actually entire of my friend circle, whatever was there, they also used to maintain, is that we used to pre-plan the things. Pre-plan the things means I would say whatever the reactions I will put tomorrow, I have always used to actually do it in the previous night. I know that what I am going to do in my entire time, and I can tell you that I used to keep calculating the things that if I put these things in this particular time, this will come out in that big time. After that, I have to do these things. I have to go for the analysis, and after that, the everything will be over. I will be settled down. So like that, I used to plan always. So pre-plan is very necessary. So pre-plan the things. One day pre-plan is very necessary. It will give you a lot. Now, how it will give you a lot? The thing is that once you are actually going for the next day session, before that, you are pre-planning. That means you are reading something. Once you are reading something, that means you are giving something to you about the knowledge. So that knowledge used to give you a lot of confidence. So that confidence slowly grows up day after day, day after day, day after day. In that way, pre-plan is very much necessary. Number two is that your uh, honesty towards the research. You have to see. Research is something. PhD is a long journey. It's a 5 years journey, 6 years. You have to do this journey so that you have to have some love for it. Not some. You have to love. If you love your work, love your things, you can go a long. You can walk long miles. So it's a big game, and you have to walk through it. So you have to be patient always, courageous to take all the outcomes, enjoy whatever is coming out, including failures, and plan. So these are the basic things is very necessary, along with the honesty. And the most important thing, what I would like to say is your character. So the very first day when I joined to IIT Bombay, I went to my professor. So my professor actually told me a very important thing that I want to share, and I keep used to remember that thing is the PhD degree will give you the degree, but outcome is your character. Now, how it works? Because my professor told the entire world, whenever you go outside or not, nobody knows how much you are qualified, how much you are educated. But what your words are coming out through your character, that will show what type of person you are and how much education already you got. Because if you are really educated, your character will increase a lot. So the PhD is giving a building of character. So degree could have been the doctorate in science instead of the doctorate in philosophy. So your philosophical character need to be increased, and it increased a lot. Really be honest about it. So you have to be honest towards your research. So these are the
Okay.
things, and never think that we are getting failure. That means it will not work. Uh, one complete year something did not work for me. That doesn't mean that I left. I was very much junior level at that time. I could have actually quit from PhD, go to somewhere or go to some different institute, but I didn't quit. I stayed there. I tried harder. So try, try hard, try hardest. Discuss with the friends, discuss with the PI. If not something is working, go sit back, relax,